technical difficulty there. I do apologize for.
All right, gonna work it out, work it out. We on outdoors today.
This is the time to fall in love. Okay, so we are into season 2, marching right on in. It's a little bit windy out here, but I'm taking advantage of this Texas beauty. While there are my brethren and sisterin that are dealing with the throes of snow and blizzard drifts, I am in this. My utopia. Not bragging. I definitely feel for you. I've spent many, many moons in those conditions and I moved away for that reason. Y'all like my hat? I found this hat at a place called HEB here. It's just a grocery store. And I saw it and walked past and was like, yes! I love this hat. It's beautiful. So I'm going to put it back on. But I just want to show y'all something because right now I'm obsessed with my hair. I just love my hair. I just play in it, touch it all day. I'm obsessed with it. I'm not going to lie, okay? And so there was a section here in my hair that I had some concern. You see it? See it? So I call this section of my hair confused alfalfa. Why? Why is it confused alfalfa? Because remember alfalfa had the little one at the top? At the top. Okay, and so it's this one, right? And so I'm trying to understand what's up with you, right? Like, are you 2 in 1 or what's going on here? You got hairs that's just, I don't know. I don't know. But I'll be going back to my stylist and we'll talk about it or whatever, to figure out what the hell's going on with this little one here, So, you know what I mean? But, the shrinkage is real. Oh, y'all see my baby back there? Come here, Angel. Come here. But I've been twisting and retwisting. Come on, jump up here. Say hi to everybody. Say hi. Say hi. Say hi. Come here, come here, come here, come here. Say hi. Hi, sweet baby. Sweet baby. You stink. But that's okay. You need a bath. Time for baths. All right. See you later. All right. So I'm out here in the elements with my doggy. My yard needs a little tender loving care. No, it's not about you though. Okay? No, that's it. Go. Bye-bye. Bye. See ya. That's it. We done now. I know. Your moment of fame is over. Sorry. I know. But I know you. I'm on live here, but I'm not on live there. We'll see what happens. Because I don't hear myself in my ear lobes. So we'll see what happens. I'm here to be all over the place doing what they want. I just want to show y'all that Rogue One. Star Wars. What's going on with you? You don't know what you want to do? All right. That's why you about to get a hat on you till I fix you later. That's what we do, don't we? When you can't get it right, you do a workaround. Because that's my people. We know how to change it up when we need to change it up. You know what I mean? It's not working out. I don't know if you got a chance to see the puppy girl or not, but puppy girl, come here, girl. Come here. You get to get back in the TV. You was barking. Come here. Come here. Say hi to everybody. Say hi. Say hi. Say hi to everybody. Say hi. Hi, puppy girl. All right. Sometimes I wonder, if her paws been all in the backyard and stuff, and then she come and jump on me, and like where her paws been. I do declare. But those things worry me, Those things worry me. But anyway, so we're in the backyard. I love being in the yard, to be honest with you all. At my home up north, I actually, which you can't tell now, thank you, gentlemen, that I will not mention your name because most of the plants are dead now. But, why don't I hear sound? Concerns. It probably is sound because I be tripping and stuff. And in the past, I've heard sound. Oh, let me do this. Okay, might be not my ear to make sure I'm okay. All right, anyway, y'all probably have heard me the whole time. But anyway, so I'm just going through announcements. We'll call this announcements, okay? I'm your host, Maya in situ, and I am here to present you with Elephant in the Room Season 2. Because it's spring. And the title of this show is what? Let me see if it put my title over. It did. Spring into action. Okay, so I introduced y'all to Angel. I don't know if you heard. Angel. But again, I be thinking I can't hear. You can't hear because when I review my videos, I'm like, you could have heard the whole time. I repeated that story like 3 times last time, and I didn't need to, but I didn't know no better. But now I do. So anyway, so it's spring. I got my lemon tree out here. If anyone follows me on Facebook, I put some information up about my lemon tree. I think I put it on. I'm gonna have to fix that. She looking a little interesting, but I got to get her some nutrients. I know what her problem is, but I bought her a big vat to go in. She's in a little vat right now, but I bought her a big one. We just got this from Kroger today. All the Krogers down here are like super Krogers. They're not like little Kroger. They're like super Krogers, like maybe how Myers is back in Michigan, but it's like super Kroger down here. All right, so announcements. So another announcement is, I don't know if you all got a chance to watch my Facebook uh, Detroiters uh, moving to Houston, I think is the name of the page. I have to make sure. But anyway, on that page, I'm networking with people that have moved down here from Houston, from my hometown. I also network with people from Chicago. You know, when I'm with my homegirl, I go hang out with them sometime. I'm going to do some more networking. Today, I was out at Greenspoint Mall, handing out some of my flyers, let y'all know, come with me, come conversate with me, get involved in a discussion, be like, Maya, you wrong. Or be like, Maya, yeah, girl, that's what I was talking about. But let's just talk. Let's chop it up. And so um the announcement about the event that I'm talking about, my home girl is inviting me, and now I'm inviting you. You know how that's go. You invite one person, and you gotta be careful who you invite because they might invite the whole damn family. So I'm inviting the family, if you're in the Houston area, on Saturday, April 21st at 3 p.m. to the Duck Off Sports Bar in Houston. You know I love to go YouTube live, so I'll be YouTubing it. I mean Facebook live and it. Uh, I've Twitter live one time, which I showed y'all that video last time, but the sound wasn't going through. But it's Saturday, April 21st at 3 p.m. The Chi-Town versus H-Town block party is going down at the Duck Off Sports Bar. I hope to see y'all there. If you're in the Houston area, I would love to meet you. All of my Detroit family that I just met, I'm going to post this to the page so that you all know if y'all want to go. I want to see y'all there. We had such a great time. I got to singing and carrying on, and I wasn't even drinking, but a little bit. I had one drink. But I was singing and having fun. I love to sing. It's just a fun thing that I do. I don't feel like I have to know how to sing. I just feel like I can. That's just what I do. I'll be like, can you sing? And I'm like, no, but I be singing anyway. I just have fun with it. You know, you got to have fun, enjoy life. Some more announcements because I've been working on my dietary needs. Let's see what I have back in here. So I printed off some, and this was also stemmed on a class assignment that I had, but I found some really great information because it just so happened to tie into my dietary modifications that I'm making. And some people are able to just go ham, right? But some people have to ease their way into it. I'm one of those people that got to ease my way into it. And so, you know, because I love food and I love cuisines of all sorts. I'll eat all kind of places, you know. But we have to learn to eat healthy, you know. And I think I've made some great changes. I see it in my face where I've lost some weight. I see it in my arms. My arms were larger, but I'm getting some muscular tone to them. I got the little, I won't say that because that's negative, but I got the little turkey arms, I call it that, but I got to work on them. But I have worked on them because I know when I turned it this way before, there was still more hang time. This is the hang time, and I just actually bought a weight set. I have a Bowflex system already, and I use that for rowing and things like that. I've kind of been out of commission, you all, because I had a car accident in December that I really hadn't been talking about. I'm kind of a private person, and I had a car accident in December, and it's really greatly affected me. And honestly, when I went out dancing the other night, it was great at the time. I could tell when I need to slow down. I couldn't dance like I normally used to because anybody don't know me. Like, no, I love to get out and dance more and have fun. But uh, it was no getting low, get low, get low, get low. It was none of that. No, wasn't gonna happen. It ain't had nothing to do with the knees. It had to do with the back. And today my cubby picked me up and squoze me. And anybody know my cubby know he's a bear. And when the bear scolds me, I was like, ah, puppy down. So anyway, we was out of Greenspoint Mall today. Greenspoint Mall, y'all, is for those, my Houston family, for those who don't know Detroit, to my Detroiters who don't know Houston, Greenspoint Mall is to Northland Mall, RIP Northland. It's the Northland Mall. It's like the hood mall, and it's the mall that have mostly vendors. You don't have any of the big stores. Unfortunately, Macy's just closed out there, which was like the urban outlet for those who couldn't find things at other Macy's. That was more like shopping at what's the name of that doggone store that have all those metrosexual clothes? But for the hood in us that want the more urban wear, that Macy's was the one you can go to. So now I guess all they really have left is Willowbrook Mall, and then you got to go on the southwest side. Pretty much north side, folks, is hit. Southwest is where it's at right now, where you're gonna get all your urban wear. Unfortunately, y'all, they just shutting us down. But this is why we got to get into this economic plan. I told y'all, listen to Dr. Claude Anderson. I'm working on my piece. You know, like I told y'all, my show is about work in progress. It's spring. Can you feel it? My energy. You know what I'm saying? Because spring just do something to me. That's why I came outside with my favorite tree. My tree back here, she looks almost like she's sad. Let me go to the side. Sorry. She looks sad, but this tree is an awesome tree because this tree will go dormant for a long time. And then when she sprout, I'm gonna come out here again and you all are gonna see how beautiful she is. She is a beautiful tree. My lemon tree sitting over here, but I'm not about to turn the camera. Okay, so I went out to Greens Point Mall. Oh, I left. Oh, here you go. I went and got me a smoothie drink. This one has ginseng in it, but I'm reading interesting things about ginseng and protein and all that. So as I'm making that transition, I may do some things that people be like, I'm like, what? They're like, I'm like, I'm learning. Don't be like that. Don't be so judgy. My health food community, don't be judgy. See this? Y'all getting people, but y'all turning people off because you have to understand old habits die hard. And by the time a lot of people find out about their eating habits, they're usually in their 30s and 40s. In your 20s, you think you're fearless, you can live any kind of life. By the time you get to your 30s and 40s, you're like, I need to make some change, because you're starting to feel it. This is brought to you by Off. Not really, because I ain't doing no advertisements, but really, because the bugs is out here and the mosquitoes loves me. But anyway, I digress. Spring into action, y'all. You feel the energy? I just feel great. And so, change, right? We're talking about our dietary habits. So my spring into action isn't really about that. My spring into action is, and I got to add on to this title. My bad, my bad. That is racism is over. What are you talking about, Maya? I know you ain't saying nothing like that. That's why I tell you to walk with me because sometimes you got to take your time and understand what people are talking about. Because people gonna be like, you tripping. Racism ain't over. Okay, I explain to y'all. Let me explain. Let me explain. Okay. So anyway, back into the dietary real quick because I just wanted to make this public announcement. We talked about the event coming up. I'm gonna try to post it to my got critters running around here. I am going to try to post it to my elephant in the room.us page, but I'm still trying to figure out how to get my calendar on there. I set up the page and I set up that website. I did that myself. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm a woman of many talents. But for some reason, the calendar isn't working on there where I can put all the events that I want you all to participate in and come to and meet me and we hang out, chop it up, get to know each other. But anyway, I'm working on that. But I got this book. It's the West African Cookbook. Okay. And it's just going to go over the West African diet, which is one of the best diets available. And if you notice something about many West African people, they're not very heavy people for the most part. They tend to be smaller people. And it is because of their diet. They have great skin. You see, that's just the skin. I'm sure they did a little bit of airbrushing, but that's okay because she looks beautiful. I love her traditional garb. And then the other book that I bought, this was a heavier book, so it's going to take me some reading because I have a feeling they went into some really serious things. Um, and this one is The Soul of a New Cuisine, a discovery of the foods and flavors of Africa. So this is going across the diaspora by Marcus Samuelson, and the forward is by Desmond Tutu. Photographs by Gideon Keifel. I hope I did their names justice, but this is the other book I purchased. I love reading. That's just me. So if you're a book person like me, I'll get a book for all kinds of stuff just to read it and learn. I get new items and I get I read the instructions. That's just me. I bought my son a basketball hoop. My youngest son, because my oldest son's really athletic. My youngest son is not as athletic. Not that he's not capable, it just doesn't occur to him. He's more the brainiac. Not that my oldest son is dumb dumb, but these are just their strengths we're talking about. And so, um, what's this? Trying to confirm people. Somebody asking for my friendships. Let me see who you are before I just accept you on my friend page. On my Maya Institute page, I post a lot of things. I just want us to become more interactive and feel comfortable talking with each other. That's my focus. Whoa, was that a wasp? This is like Wasp City. You got to be careful. So when you out in the elements, you just got to be careful. He has some beautiful anemone on here. Mm. Let me see what you about, brother. If you a brother, I'll be having to watch people though. I'll be having like two page pictures up and be thinking I'm gonna be like, oh, okay, confirm request. No, I need to see more. Gotta be more open to me before I can put you on my page. Because you come on my page, starting mess, you will be properly kicked off. I have to sit on you for a second, brother, before I can accept you to my page. Anyway, so spring into action. I'm gonna be full of energy. You're gonna see how I come alive. I am a January baby, which is interesting. But um, I love tropicalness. I love warm weather. That's my thing is warmth. I've always loved warm weather. You know, I don't think it's a mistake, but I think it was a small error because me born into a majority cold climate. And plus, I moved down to Houston for my baby because, of his ailment. I moved down. But anyway, I printed this from our web from one of my course assignments, and I found it very interesting. And it was talking about the African heritage diet. Okay, which I'm gonna post where I got this from on my page if you want to know more about diets. Because I'm all about our eating. Diabetes, it says, is not part of your heritage. Neither is heart disease. So when people say, "Oh, the African community has this ailment," that's not ours. That is inherited from our transition to this land and the stealing of our foods. But someone brought up a good point. We were here before in America. That's a topic for debate for some people. But we were here in America. We were what they were calling the Indians. When you look, when Columbus landed in the Central and South America regions, he never landed in America. But when he landed in the Central and South America regions, his description and many of the clergy person description of the people is very interesting. And if you want to follow that, you want to get Dr. Ivan Van Sertima's book, which I'll put that information in. I still got to put information in for my last one. Again, I've been recuperating, so I haven't been as spry as I normally am. But you can find out more information about that voyage that so-called Columbus made. I think his book is called. Dang, I forgot the title of the book. It's either on my Kindle or I actually got the physical copy. I think it might be the physical copy. Before they came, or something to that degree. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the title. But anywho, so those are all my announcements, my eating habits. I'm trying to change it. I ate one piece of bacon a day. It was hickory, no, it was brown sugar bacon. It was really good. It was a thick cut. Bacon is very tasty and it's hard to get away from that diet. But the more and more you read, listen to Shahrazad Ali, and many other people who are of Islamic, Jewish, West African, a lot of these faiths and cultures kind of push you away from the pork diet. And it's been proven that the pork diet, unfortunately, especially a high um, consumption, can really affect us. And so we have to be very careful about that. So I'm gonna do one more thing. I'm gonna get pretty for y'all today. It is Sunday after all. I bought this color from Mac. It is. Oh yeah, I forgot the sticker came off of this doggone one, so I don't even know the color. I gotta look on the. I usually put on lip liner, but I know this young cousin crazy. She goes, "Hey, she got a lip liner." She always say, "I don't have a lip liner." Screw you. I do have a lip line. It's just shy. Isn't that pretty? I think that's pretty. See my lip line? Now you can see it. But I do have a lip liner. I just don't feel like going to get it. I just want to show you all this color. So pretty. It's a MAC lip glass. I don't wear makeup that often. And my own point is, I always feel like I look like I'm a drag queen when I wear it because my features are pretty exaggerated. I have the high cheekbones. I have, the full lips. I have the um, thick eyebrows naturally. I have long eyelashes naturally. So, I mean, if I put makeup on, I just really feel like I look like Snuffleupagus and like I'm in drag. And I'm not really into that. I don't want to be in drag. Let me see if I can change the color on here so you can see the color better. A little bit better. Don't look at my weed, y'all. I gotta cut my grass. I got fake blue bonnets back here. If you all know anything about Texas, blue bonnets are indigenous to Texas, I believe, and some of the other Southwest states, but they are gorgeous. Let me see if I can find a picture of them because when it's blue bonnet season, it's places you can go in hill country, and it's actually illegal to pick them here, but you can go into hill country, and they are absolutely gorgeous. Let me show you blue bonnets so y'all can see them. I want y'all to see them. And then we'll get into our show. Spring into action. Racism is over. People like, I'm cutting this shit off. This lady is crazy. I'm not crazy though. I'm not crazy. Okay, so blue bonnets. Let me see if I can find y'all some blue bonnets so y'all know what I'm talking about. They are beautiful. They are absolutely gorgeous. I like this one along the railroad track because they grow wild. I'm gonna show y'all this picture first, and then I'm gonna show another one. They're beautiful. But it is supposedly illegal to pick them here in Texas, which is interesting. I'm not really sure 100% why it's illegal to pick them, but let me see why. That's what I should did first. All right, so that's them growing wildly on a railroad track. But that's not one of the most beautiful pictures. I'm gonna show you a close up of one so you can see that they look like up close. Just let me show you my doo 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 so you can laugh with me. So this is the do 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 do. Right, that's like my screen fade until I learn how to use all my tools. But I got so much going on that tools are not important to me right now. But they will be. That's how they look up close. And then I want to show you them in the field. They're absolutely gorgeous in the field. And what you'll do is you'll drive down the road. People drive down the road up the hill country and even going up towards Austin from Houston up a highway called 290, and they will travel along this road, just take pictures in them and things like that. So you'll see people stopped all alongside the road because they just, when they're in bloom, they are absolutely gorgeous. And it's rare to see a naturally blue flower, right? Oh, I gotta do it again. Sorry. That's for special effects. Look at that! Isn't that beautiful? That's absolutely beautiful. And so I just think they're so pretty. They're very pretty. And you learn great things about any state that you're in. Where I'm from have some beautiful history, beautiful wildlife, some great history. All right. And so let's get on into our topic now that we know what blue bonnets are and we're out in nature in the backyard. I got my off. It's brought to you by off. Although they ain't paying me a damn thing. Um, Me planting my lemon tree. I don't know if y'all saw this because my stream got knocked off, but this is the big vat I'm going to put my lemon tree in because it's in a small one that's not even a quart. I could sit the small one inside of that and it's just only this big. It's a tree, it needs to grow. And so I'm going to take it out of that because the lemons are hanging on there and they're like, ah, but it's still like the leaves are like, ah. So I got to hurry up and get this baby back because I mean, you can't just do the baby like that, okay? And so I'm going to get it, it's a little dry. So I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it right. I'm not going to do it wrong, okay? And so we got that going on, y'all. Meow. I'm really tripping today, and I'm feeling good though, you all. It's spring. This is my time. You know, when it's nice out, you're gonna see me out in Houston doing all kind of stuff. I'm gonna be trying to plan for maybe a Friday thing where I go out and I talk and get the pulse of Houston, and then we do a Sunday show and talk about those things. Just based upon the topics that I've written, and I have a lot of stuff written out that I want to do, but I've kind of been in the house. Cabin fever, cabin fever, cabin fever. Okay, so highlight. What did I write down? So we're going to talk about different people viewpoints on race, okay? And this is going to be an interesting subject because people keep saying that racism is dead, right? And you keep hearing this. You keep hearing that racism is dead. Um, and I feel that we need to spring into action in our own little way and educate people in our own little way because there's a lot of ignorance out here. People have a lot of interesting views about African Americans. Oh, I know where it's at. It's under my. Oh, here we go again. I know where it's at. It's under my saved videos. And then I get over there and be like, where is it? I know I had saved it. I had saved it, y'all. I'm going to do better. But you have to understand, I'm a student. I'm a mommy. And I just want to do this because I felt in my heart. Just watch later because it's. And my watch later just be like, huh? And then I come back to it and it'll be like, what? And I'll be like, I know I had saved this. So let me see if it's gonna let me switch. Okay, let's switch. Let's switch to my other one because I think that's where I gotta save them. My My In Situ account is kind of a little bit newer one, and so my other account that I usually use for my own watching pleasure is the one I'm gonna have to probably go under. I hope they don't give me no hard time. You know what? I better not do this. Oh, I did. No, I better not. Well, okay. Let me see if it acts stupid. We'll see. What is this? Nothing from that. Cancel your passwords. I got red ants crawling all over the damn place. You know what? I better go on my phone and just email it because I don't want this to get to acting crazy. Let's go back. Let's go back. Because I can always pull it off of here and I know it's here for sure. Here we go between the phone. Y'all watched me do this last time. Y'all gonna be like, oh my God, here she go again looking for stuff and she don't know where. Don't be like that, y'all. I'm a work in progress. I'm always a work in progress. Here we go. Yep, it's under this. So I can pull it up. But I'm really concerned that you all are going to be able to hear it because every time I've been pulling these videos up, here we go. Every time I pull these videos up, I don't feel like you can hear them. Let's see if I can get this to come on. And this was a BBC special. And the reason why I'm doing this is because people like to say that racism is non existent. What happened? Could you stop choking by me? Please. Oh, somewhere not gone. It's the pollens. They all up in your throats. Really, Angel? Thanks. No, not over here. Bye. Bye. Go do it over where you was doing it. For real. Let me pat you on the back. Where should I pat you on your back? Let's see if we can get this to come up. Okay. So that was a really interesting video. It's really interesting to me that when you hear or you watch videos of people talking about racism, especially with the BBC network, the highlighted ones are usually of, a black Englishman coming over and trying to get some insight on a handle on this thing called racism in America. They actually come to America to talk about it more because uh, the problem of racism is especially prevalent in the Americas and the United States. And the reason why it's such a case study for many other countries to look at us is because we declare freedom. We declare the leaders of the free world. And so when you make those kind of claims, people will say, okay, well, let's really put that under a microscope and see how, let's create a litmus test to see how well you are meeting this criteria that you've created to be this superpower in this free and equal country. Immigration is a hot topic now, which is understandable on one end, but you have to ask, where does it stem from? In my opinion, it stems from a white supremacy movement that eventually the Latino culture will be considered the majority in 2020. And I've talked about this before, where they're considered the minority majority. A textbook is actually writing that, the minority majority. What on earth is the minority majority? That doesn't make any sense, does it? Where does that come from? How can you be a majority and a minority? Well, the book goes on to explain that, well, you don't want to take away the word minority because they're still a disadvantaged group, but they're a majority as far as numbers, but they still don't hold the majority of the wealth, even though their population numbers will be the majority, which is an interesting factoid. Isn't this what's going on in South Africa, that the Africans have been pooling all of the wealth into their cultural group, although they are immigrants into the South African country. And now the South Africans are fighting back for their land that was taken from them. And you actually have people, um, whites around the world, saying these people are barbarians. I can't believe they're doing this because some of the white farmers are dying. Now, I'm not sure of those situations as to why they're dying. Maybe there's a fight that ensued. Maybe someone's trying to combat for land or for power. But it is a growing sentiment of many South Africans that they just want the whites to leave because of the policies, because of the history, because of the complacency that they've allowed on that land. And these people post apartheid just really want them to leave. And I understand it. I can understand that. It's almost as someone um, let's just put an example like this. You find out someone stole your home by some contractual paperwork, and you never left your home, but they were draining all the resources out of your home, drained your equity, put you into debt, would not allow you to participate in all the things that would be available in your home. Like, say they cut off use of the one of the bathrooms, right? And you have a family of four. I know I'm making this very abstract, but I'm trying to help you all to understand for those who might run across my show and not understand this concept. Um, and so a portion of your home you just can't use. And they put you into the most tiniest corner of your home. Maybe it's a 4-bedroom home and they put you in one bedroom, the smallest bedroom. They give you access to the bathroom, but only part-time basis. And they give you access to the kitchen, but only part-time basis. And they won't let you use the refrigerator. So you got to do the best you can to preserve your food. Okay. That's a very abstract explanation, but it's to help you understand what happens when things are taken from you that are in part yours by default, as far as your people being on that land. So I compare it to a home, and living in a home and someone finding a way to pull the rug underneath from you and take your home from you. And so you live in a small section of your own home. It's in your name. It has the blood of your ancestors on it as far as living and dying and breathing there. And they basically told you, well, we've conquered you, so now we're going to take your land and everything that you own. So you find a way to conquer them back, get yourself back in place to get rid of them. And then you've got family members who are fighting for them to stay. The same family members that were oppressed by them in your home. They've forgotten that you were pushed to one bedroom. Now they want to say, let's be humanitarians. No, you're not humanitarians. You never were humanitarians because you allowed these things to occur. Okay. So to me, there's racism in that because, the United Nations, for example, would say, which I'm going to play you that video from the United Nations too. The United Nations will say, that, this is incorrect. Um, Oh, here you go. Yes, I'm glad I found this video. It's gonna be a good one for y'all to watch. But you basically take over someone's home. You move them to the smallest part of their home. They don't reap the benefits from their home, i.e., the equity to be able to pull out of the home and use it. You're using their equity for your own personal gain. And then when they finally beat you in court and get you out of there, then you try to appeal to some of their family members and try to get them to say, "Well, don't put us out because we don't have anywhere to go." Home invasion. No, I'm not. No, I don't sympathize with you. I don't feel any concern for you. I honestly could care less what's going on with you because you are a thief. You're a thief. And you want me to sympathize with my. Okay, so a woman gets raped. I like to bring up rape because rape is the most extreme to help people think. A woman gets raped. She decides to have the child anyway. The child and the mother grow up. They find a way to overcome. Maybe the child never even knows really about what happened. Father pops up on the door 18 years later. I want to be a part of my child's life. You raped me. I had the child anyway that I got to look at that looked like your raggedy self. And now you're coming to the doorstep appealing to my child as if you had anything to do with it besides violate me. And you want me to let you back into my child's life because you want to be a parent. There's been a case about that, by the way. I never told my child how they came into this world so not to damage them. I internalized that guilt. I held that pain. And now here you are showing up on my door again, my doorstep, saying you want to be a part of your child's life. See, we have to stop coddling the dysfunctional people of the world. It was dysfunctional for the Dutch, for the British, for the Russians to infiltrate Africa in the first place. And now the Chinese, bless their hearts, to infiltrate Africa for the point of self gain. And of course, America. And now that the Africans, the original South Africans, have in majority, which they always were in the majority, which is the weird part about all of that, is they were always in the majority. See, we here in America, as far as African peoples, we're not the majority. Okay. African and Indian people, we are not the majority necessarily, unless they lying about the numbers. But I have another theory on that. I'm not gonna go into that conspiracy theory. But basically, people are fighting back, and you have white splaining all over Twitter and Facebook talking about, oh, well, you want to bring on the war? Are you sure you want to do that? Listen, y'all can run your mouth all you want to, which I put right on my Twitter page. You all can run your mouth all you want to. You can make people afraid with your words. You can even make people afraid with your actions. But overall, when people get tired, they're tired. When they tired of your crap and they tired of you abusing them and they tired of you mistreating them and they looking at you all building super complexes and then they can't even get a piece of that pie, that will come to an end. I don't care who it is. And in the case of South Africa, they have even more of a claim, even though some of us over here in America, although we have a very big claim, don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying, in comparison, these people were definitely on the land. There's no battle as to who got here first, who was here. We know who was there first. You all invaded their lands. You basically enslaved them in one way or another. And now you have the nerve to be complaining. Where's your families at? Go back to your home countries. Okay, go to where your people came from before they decimated the land. I understand that some people were born there and they didn't have anything to do with that, but the reality is that you all don't want to share. You don't want to share the wealth because if you did, you would have done it in the first place. So it's a hard road uphill for you to sit here and try to talk about negotiations in the fourth quarter with 1 minute left on the scoreboard, and you're trying to say, oh, well, let's just share that. No, no, whatever those people decide amongst themselves, I support. If they say you all need to get off our land and go bye-bye, that's what they need to do. If you invested in stolen land, everybody know when you go to court and you invest in some stolen property, that property returns to owner. It does not return to those who stole it. The judge does not sympathize with stolen property to those who stole it or participated, whether directly or indirectly. So let's get our ducks in a row and get some alignment here. You don't uh, reward the thief, the murderer. You have to remember some of these people and their families um, were killing these people. They were racially profiled just like we are here in the Americas. And so when we talk about does racism still exist? Yes, it still exists. And even when these people are found to be wrong, they don't want to accept responsibility. And so, in knowing this, unfortunately, you have to deal in the heavy hand of justice. Okay. It may not be pleasant. You may not like to do it, but people have to learn to do what they have to do. When you have the leverage, South Africa, when you have the leverage to get your country back to the way you want it to be, like Ghana, they're suffering a little bit, and people are trying to say, aha, look at them. This is how you know that people are extremely racist and horrible in their heart and prejudiced and bigoted in their heart. Ghana gets their freedom back. The Ghanaians are offering some Americans to return and be a part of building the country back again. And you got white folks out here like, ha ha, they're suffering, man. That's what they get. They're racist. They're putting these people out of their land. No, they asked the people to leave. I can't remember which people were part of Ghana. I have to look at that and see what European nation was invading. I think it was the French. I think it was the French. The French were basically invading them and running their economy and keeping them out of it. And they finally said, enough, just leave. Just leave. We don't need your help. I think that was part of the video that I posted to you all before. Just leave. We don't want your help. We'll figure it out. We don't need your help. We are sufficient people. You all already tried to give your version of help. Thank you very much, but no thank you. And that's what African nations are now saying. Thank you, but no thank you. We can control our resources. We don't need your help. The Western nations are very concerned because a lot of Western nations import more than they export. If you look at their GDP doesn't make far the return than when they import goods and begin to export them again. So they need goods from other countries, bring them into their country, cultivate it, change it, and export them back out. That's how they make their money. And so a lot of them have been failing because they've been losing relationships with some of these African nations because they've had enough. And, unfortunately, some white people in the world just don't get this concept. They think, oh, well, have mercy. Where's your heart? Where's your God? Really? You want to call a God card now? Y'all talk about us in the race card. Now you want to pull the spiritual card? Really? Where was the spiritual card at when you were decimating the people and watching them live in squalor and then telling the world that it was their own fault why they lived in squalor? Lying. So not only have you all been thieves, those who have done this, and those who have lived in complacency and won't stand next to brothers and sisters and say, you know what, this is wrong, wrong is wrong, right is right. I don't have a problem with the white folks that say wrong is wrong, right is right. But unfortunately, they're so far and few between that you don't know who to trust. And this is what needs to be understood. It's not about us not wanting to have humanity or black people not wanting to stand side by side. We've done it in the civil rights. We've done it in the American War 1 and 2. Okay, if you know your history. And what happened to those people when they came back home? Great example, World War II. Those soldiers fought. Decorated soldiers came back home, fought valiantly. Came back home. And what did white folks do? They didn't offer our people home loans. They didn't offer our people veterans benefits. They saved them for the whites. Less than 1%, if any, were approved, received those benefits, while an overwhelming majority of whites after World War II and the Great Depression happened. And, this country was being decimated. They had to pour in incentive dollars to the economy so that people could, begin to reinvest into the economy. And guess who it went to? And y'all wonder why you living in beautiful neighborhoods with 2 and 3 homes and thousands of dollars in your savings account, and you had a nerve to look at black people and say, I just don't know what's wrong with them, They just, you had a head start. A good person that talks about this is Tim Wise. He is a white man, but he breaks it down to his own people. And his premise is, my purpose is not to educate black folks. Black folks know exactly what's going on. My purpose is to educate White people, says Tim Wise. White people are the ones that don't know any better. They're the ones that are going around here talking about they're not getting home loans. So I got another video I want y'all, or they're not getting into school, or reverse racism and all this other mess that they've come up with. So I found another video that I wanted you all to watch, to talk about this racism is over with, right? Isn't that what it says? But before I play that one, I want to play the I want to play this video of a UN delegate that's talking about the United States involvement and culpability for what they have done. And you had people that were mad, oh man, they was mad. How could she? She is a. And I'm gonna tell you something. If you all got a chance to go into Philippe Shock Matthews' show and listen to some of the people that were on his show that I brought up to you all, they talk about what happens in the white race, especially in corporate America. That when you side with black people, what happens to them? You all want to say racism doesn't happen. You have people firsthand testimony telling you all what happens when they stand up and stand with black people. That's why a lot of them don't do it. That's another reason why a lot of them don't do it, because they know it's career suicide. They know this. Let's listen. Okay. So we have listened to the UN's assessment and remedies somewhat of uh, what the United States has done and continue to do, and the disparities created stemming from the transatlantic slave trade to date. And so, if you read probably the comments, let's read some of the comments. That's what I like. That's fun. So let's read the comments on what people think about this. Okay. And so, first comment I came up on, and this was about a year ago, it says, I agree Africans must pay for what they did to fellow Africans living overseas for selling them into the slave trade. Shame on them. So that's one comment. You see how it just never ceases to amaze me. Another person says, try and take it from me. Another person says, nope. Another person says, ridiculous through and through. Another person says, Madam, it does take two to tango, and indeed some more to triangle trade. Why not have the Congo and other African nations pay up their share for participating as well? Better yet, when can pretty much every nation from China to Hungary accept reparations from Mongolia for the countless attacks back in the day and so on? What about reparations for French colonialism? I'll be waiting for my reparations for all the European slaves in North Africa. Blacks have already been getting reparations. It's called welfare. Oh, do Americans get reparations for soldiers we lost in France during World War II? I refuse. I hate it when people from other countries try to tell Americans what to do. Their demands rest on deaf ears. So another person is laughing, saying white folks are bent out of shape behind this. How about the United States paying 12 million to survivors of the Holocaust living in America? What the does Americans have to do with Germany has done? The UN can take the idea of reparations and shove them where the sun doesn't shine. The fact at the end of the bloodiest war America has ever had, Civil War, slavery was ended, should be enough reparations, let alone that none of today's African Americans have ever lived through slavery or ever known someone that has in the U.S. The ignorance is astounding. Can I get some money too? My ancestors were Christian slaves in Rome. Some of my family were fed to lions for sport. Racism doesn't exist. Racism is over. There's no racism. Let's continue to read the comments. Ha ha, great joke. You get nothing. Deal with it. Another person says, France, why am I not surprised? I am not even from America. My grandfather had to build a war camp in Australia. They forced him into. Do I deserve payment for that suffering even though he was an Italian immigrant? I'm not going to pay something for my family never did and actually went through themselves. Will poor African natives pay reparations to wealthy black Americans for selling their ancestors as slaves as well? You gonna make the Muslims pay for all that oppression, murder, and slavery in history? Oh wait, you're controlled by Islam, so no. Oy vey, if anyone knows what that means. It's French for like, oh boy. Okay, so now you have major resolution. Now I want to see you enforce it. That chance. The UN allows corporations that use human trafficking, aka slavery, to keep profit off the sweat, blood, and tears of kidnapped people. They don't truly give a damn unless it fits their political agenda. How about we pay them all to move to France? We need to curb stop these people. How much did it cost to set up Liberia? How much is a goat in 40 acres worth? Another one says, even if they actually do this, who's going to pay for it? It would be fair because everyone who's responsible has probably been dead for over 100 years. The Jews own all the slave ships. They still deal in white sex slaves to this day. This other person says, we're the people who died or struggled to ensure quality, giving blacks their freedom. Wrong to think future blacks will be appreciative and embrace what America's opportunities have to offer. As some like to say, we did move forward. It is only for political expediency that some continue to look back. The UN issue comes from afar, so perhaps the UN needs to relocate. So what do you do when you don't like the decision? Change the rules. When does the Muslim world reparations to the people of Europe for centuries of invasion and taking of slaves? That's an interesting concept. They're talking about the Moorish um, conquering and invasion. God bless the UN, but the U.S. put as much stock into their opinion as warm bucket of hamster vomit. When it comes to giving blacks anything aside from lengthier sentences and more murders, courtesy of the runway slave patrol, aka police, the U.S. stays pretty recalcitrant and unapologetic about it, as some of these below comments suggest. And the fight started. What about the Barbary slave trade? Were Arabs enslaved and butchered white people? I thought the purpose of reparations was to compensate actual victims of oppression, which was why Germany paid them to Jewish survivors of the Holocaust. If the UN, an organization which is becoming more bureaucratic and less efficient at easing global tensions, is really concerned about African slavery, and they'd be wise to focus on Arab countries that A started the African and European slave trade, and I never know what does that BTW stand for? I looked that up. I always forget what that means. Okay, I have to look it up. I can't even think of it. Continue to benefit directly from the use of Black African. So anyway, I don't want to spend all this time reading a whole bunch of comments, but um, if we, excuse me, if we went by the laws uh, of statistics, and we just took a sample size of 30 people that had negative comments and you quantify those numbers, it would give you a better idea. I have to do the math, but it would give you a better idea of based upon those numbers of people that responded that way, because we say that's just a small number. No, you can quantify those numbers. It's a mathematical way to quantify those numbers based upon a sample size of 30 or even a larger population size of 100. You If I could count 100 negative comments in there, I can quantify the sentiment of America. This is how polling is done. I could quantify the sentiment of America. And based upon those comments, it lets you know what people think about ensuring that black people get their just due in this country. They think we already have the welfare. It lets you know that there's a lot more ignorance out here and they don't understand welfare at all. They don't understand how welfare has been a tool to also discriminate against people of color, and that more white people are on welfare than anything. And so you have some really serious issues here. But racism is over, right? I know for my people that already know this, I don't have to quantify information. We already know the truth. We deal with it on a regular basis. Um, you don't have to explain this to us. We understand. I mean, even Oprah was told that a handbag is too expensive for her. That was interesting. And then people tried to come back and say, she made it up. She made it up. So it was this other one I wanted to play that I thought was important because it speaks more to economics. And when discrimination is brought into economics, it plays a larger role. And so let me find that video for you. And this will be the last video that I play, because I just wanted to challenge this ideology that racism does not exist. It's not, it's small, isolated incidences. So this was a show that I like to watch sometimes, Democracy Now! They've been very key in my education on, how these things work, how racism affects us all. And for people who choose to fight the fight that are non-black, they do bring some interesting information because they do have access to certain resources that sometimes people of color may not have access to. And I hope nothing was biting me just now because that was suck. I've been bitten by a wasp since I've been down here, and it hurt. I had to walk it off. It bit me on my leg, on my shin, and I had to walk it off. All right, so let's pull this up, you all. I didn't choose the video.
I got control of this now. Thank you all for all the comments and the great things that great things that were said. I truly appreciate that. But I, but I have my
So like it's separated. All right. So you heard that firsthand. Um, this is what we're dealing with. In this particular uh, expose, and this is one of the videos I was looking for before. This expose came out about a month ago on Democracy Now! If you don't subscribe to Democracy Now!, it's a great show to learn information. It's about various groups. It's not just about people of color necessarily, but it so happens that people of color end up being in the news the majority of the time. Um, and this is but racism is over. Listen, those who stay aware, those who know what's going on are not fooled. We know exactly what's happening. We're not crazy. We're not making it up. We're not race baiting. We're not doing any of those things. We're speaking the truth. We are talking about what's going on in the world. We're not afraid to talk about it. And these are things that concern our community, which is why I do this show, because sometimes we get information from different outlets, okay? And so not every outlet is made equal, and some outlets are going to talk about different things at different times. So sometimes a message that's put out needs to be heard from whoever needs to hear it at that time. And so that's my motivation is the fact that I have information. I do a lot of reading. Um, there's a lot of things that I have in this cranium, and I want to share it with people. Um, it helps me, but I'm hoping that it will help other people. Someone come across this information, say, "Wow, I didn't know that," and it motivates them, puts a fire under them to say, "Hey, let me do something about it in my own life, so that way, I can affect change." And then hopefully by default, with people affecting change on themselves, it will by default help others and their family and their immediate family. Um, it would help others in their community and in a larger part across, the country, filtering in and spilling into other countries and across the diaspora where African peoples live. Okay. And those who more closely relate to that than others. Some people have dropped that African part of themselves and moved on from it, and that's fine. But not all of us have moved on in that way. And some of us are very concerned about the things that we are dealing with. And so, just moving on, I can play some of the videos that I wanted you all to see. Check, check, check. So, another thing I wanted to talk about, which is going to be very interesting because we said racism is over. Okay. And so, not we, us, but people say this. This is what I hear all the time. And I hear it not only from non-whites, or non-blacks. I hear it from many people of color say this thing, and they believe it. So, I have some more information for you. Um, this is on sundown towns. If anyone knows what a sundown town is, it basically, back in the colonial South and even beyond that into Jim Crow South and various parts of the Midwest and America. We like to put racism in one place. The South is so racist. No, racism comes in many forms, colors, shapes, sizes. Okay, and so it's not just one place. But I just want to read you some information on an individual who wrote some information on sundown towns. Ironically enough, I'll have to look up and see where some of them first presented, although that's kind of hard to tell because sundown towns just simply mean don't get your butt caught there after dark if you were black or other races for that matter. The Jewish community have taken their brunt of the blow of racism and racist behavior as well, so we can't take that away. So I'm gonna just read a briefing from Wikipedia on what they conceptualize sundown towns were. Again, I use Wikipedia because what it does is it links you to other information, to primary sources, but I like to read their synopsis too as well. They do a pretty good job overall. Some things can be debunked, but some things are informative and useful. So I don't like to displace Wikipedia because what Wikipedia did was it began to challenge information and allow people who knew to add information so they could be researched, updated, transformed, blah, blah, blah. But it is a good starting resource, okay? So people like to down Wikipedia because it's not the encyclopedia, but who heard from the encyclopedia last? The encyclopedia has been cited for having wrong information that has been corrected over the years. So it's interesting how we like to put value on certain things and not others just because it's a commonplace, but that doesn't mean it's always right. Our textbooks used to have incorrect information about slavery, things like that. So I'm looking here and reading. It says sundown towns known as sunset towns or gray towns were all white municipalities or neighborhoods that practiced a form of segregation by enforcing restrictions excluding people of non-white races via some combination of discriminatory local laws, intimidation, and violence. The term came from signs posted that colored people had to leave town by sundown. Some of the history during the Reconstruction era, many thousands of towns became sundown towns. In some cases, the exclusion was official town policy or was promulgated by the community's real estate agents via exclusionary covenants governing who could buy or rent property. So that's when you get into the difference between de jure law and de facto law. They're two different things. Okay, so just look those up: de jure law and de facto law. Put that in prior um, shows. So if you want to reference back, you can. In 1844, Oregon. Remember, I said Oregon may have been one of the, or I may have said it in my brain. I meant to say it to you out loud, but Oregon was one of Oregon. If anyone's very interested, look up the history of Oregon. There's a reason why there's barely any black people living in Oregon. Oregon was the prototype for a white America. It was the prototype for how white towns would structure and create laws to push non-whites out and create the white utopia that they wanted without having to abide by the laws of the federal, state, and local government and get caught for it and have to pay penalties or abide by them. So there were certain prototypes that were created in Oregon that is still in practice today, and Oregon is still a very interesting place to live, and they still have certain laws on the books that have not changed and are still being enforced, regardless of them violating our constitutional rights. So, there are people say, what about Portland? Portland has an interesting history too. I'm gonna put it on here, but there's a young lady who actually did a very in-depth history of Oregon, and I came across her information and began reading and watching some of her videos, and it's just astonishing the information that she was able to provide. So it's interesting that this brings up Oregon because I knew that Oregon was a state that was basically the prototype for what white America considers a utopia, being able to live in an all white area without other groups. So it says 1844, Oregon banned African Americans from the territory altogether. Those that failed to leave were subject to receiving lashings under a law known the Peter Burnett Lash law, named for California's first governor, Peter Hardeman Burnett. The law was eventually repealed with no persons ever lashed under the law. Y'all believe that? Yeah, Wikipedia, hit or miss. Since the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s, and especially near the Fair Housing Act of 1968, prohibited racial discrimination concerning the sale, rental, and financing of housing, the number of sundown towns has decreased. However, as sociologist James W. Lowen writes in his book on the subject of sundown towns, a hidden dimension of American racism, it is impossible to precisely count the number of sundown towns at any given time because most towns have not kept records of the ordinances or signs that mark the town's sundown status, which means, what does that mean? That means that people pay attention. They understand that when laws penalize them and they don't want to penalize, they understand how to get around those laws. Okay, so if you think that racism isn't operating under a covert um, type of operation, then you're mistaken. You have missed the bus, unfortunately. When we know this in everyday laws, when you know there's a law that you don't like, you find a way to work around it. Okay, that's just human nature. Well, that transposes over into white supremacy. They have learned how to work around. I never forget watching. I think it was an old Donahue show. He was having he was infamous for having shows on white supremacy and things like that, and racism. And I believe it was one person, he was part of the skinheads group, and he said, "We will change our identity. You won't even know who we are. All I have to do is put on basically a suit and a tie, and you won't know who I am from the next white person. And I'm going to have my views, and I'm going to make sure that I keep you all out. We're going to put on a uniform, meaning law enforcement. We're going to put on um, we're going to run campaigns. And what do you see now? Steve Bannon, Breitbart, all of these political organizations and people that have a say in the movement of America, and they're under the umbrella of, I just want a white nation. I don't want to be bothered with these people. I don't want anything to do with them. There's a sickness there. There's a sickness there, and there's a way that we can combat it, but we have to be, again, wise and diligent in the way that we battle this kind of behavior. Because if you think about the concept of it, you don't want to be around these people, but your ancestors brought us here, and your ancestors took over the people that were here already, and you brought yourselves here. They don't look at it like that. They don't want to talk about that. When if you watch the debate that Tariq Nasheed had with Jared Taylor, I think his name is Jared Taylor. He's a, a white supremacist in the guise of kind man. I don't want to hurt black people. I just want a white society, and I don't want to have to live among black people. You guys stay over there, and we stay over here. Okay, and it's that constant dialogue that is coming from these people, and it's in the disguise of wolf in sheep's clothing. These people want to pretend that they are your friends, and they don't mean to discriminate against you. They just want to live in their own societies, but that's not it. They want to live in their own society so they can corral the resources, leave you out, and they keep it all for themselves. That is the um, playbook of white supremacy 101. We've seen it played out over and over again. It changed from colonialism to manifest destiny to Jim Crowism. I mean, these things have manifested and changed and morphed over time, evolution. And so you have to understand that people who are the think tanks behind these movements, they're not stupid. They understand exactly what's going on. And so let's get back into our sundown town education. Okay. And so there's still sundown towns here because a sociologist who's been studying this, Mr. Lowen, is unable to identify, because these people have evolved enough to understand, oh, we can't put it in print, but we can put it into our hearts, in our minds, and we can put it into the way that we behave. I've driven through, what's that highway, 76? It's a toll, and it takes you through Ohio, Pennsylvania. When I had people that used to live in Maryland, and I stopped in a mountain town over there in West Virginia. Man, those people looked at me like I was crazy. And this was back in the 90s when my son was young. We used to travel back and forth to Maryland to see his grandmother, once a year. Drop him off there and come back home, have some freedom. Those were the days. God rest you, mommy. I miss you so much. But um, uh, these people, these people, there's an unspoken rule that they live by. It's a look, it's a nod, it's a behavior. They'll service you as long as you go and you leave. So you don't get caught in these towns after dark, because then the rules change. Okay. It's almost like what's that movie name? The Purge. These people live by a purge concept. That movie The Purge wasn't all that much lying. It was telling you about the behaviors of people. And there was a year, if we lived in that kind of society where people purged for one day every year, or however I think that movie was, you'll see some true behaviors of people and their real beliefs. Okay. And so we can't be blind to these facts. We can't, I know we want to live in a utopia, and I know we want to get away from this kind of behavior. And we don't want to live in this reality, but it is a reality, and we can't get away from that. There's nothing we can do to change the hearts and mind of some people. We can get the majority of people to see things in a more equivocal and equitable way. As someone that's very near and dear to me always says that, there's no such thing as fair. Fair is where the pigs are judged. I hate it when he says that, but I understand what he's saying. I'm quoting him because the reality is that is very true. There is no such thing as fair, but there is equity, and that's what we should strive for, is equity. To strive to live in our own peaceful ways, and to become a powerful cultural group who live among each other. I don't see anything wrong with that. Like I said, to a certain degree, I am a separatist, because people who think like-minded, who want to live in the same fashion, who don't mind being around each other, who don't mind sharing the wealth, those are the people that I want to be around. And they may happen to fall in different variations of melanation. I can't judge that in advance. We do need allies. Any sovereign nation, as I hear the Moorish brothers want to create, the uphill battle that they want to create. One of the criticisms I have towards that movement is that any sovereign nation has allies. Who are your allies? Have you asked yourself this question? They probably have. We have some very smart and intelligent people in the Nation of Islam, in the Moorish community, in the Hebrew Israelite community. I don't doubt any of those brothers. My thought process is unity by any means necessary. It's not about whether I believe in your dogma or doctrine, which is why I do my spiritual show every fifth show, 5th, 10th, 15th, like that, because I want us to be able to open up and begin to evaluate what we really believe and why we believe these things, and are they necessary in order for us to build unity, and also to bring and shed some light on some of the things that we believe. Why do we believe them? Okay, do you really understand what you believe? And once you do, go forward, be well. But if you believe in things because you just were taught to, or your family told you to, I think that's a poor excuse to have belief. It's just my opinion and why I do it. Okay, so anyway, it talks about these sundown towns, and let's see, where are we at in our time? Okay, so I'm going to find this one video that was very interesting to me that I want to watch for you all. Sundown towns in America today. Ha ha ha. Oh, this was actually, this is a long video. I'm gonna link this one. I just want a brief overview. I think we'll do this one because this is going to give us a little bit more information. But I'm going to link you all to this other one that's called The Injustice Files. It's a season 1, episode 6. Um, I'm going to play 2 videos. One is 2 minutes and the other one is 7 minutes. MSNBC did it, but theirs is only 2 minutes, which means it's a watered down version. There's a 17-minute one. So when you put in sundown times, you're going to get a lot of resources. But I'm going to put a few up here. But I'm going to play this one from this gentleman. Pull that up. I just think I have to redo it. What's that? So this one's basically the premise of sundown towns exist. So obviously there's some people denying it. You have deniers of the truth, and unfortunately that's another battle that we have to face, is deniers of the truth. But we know the truth, and you don't have to spend a lot of time. What I've done is on different media outlets that I participate in, I don't spend a lot of time convincing people of the truth or not. What I do is I let them know, my premise maybe, and just depending on how ignorant they are, and I move on. So here we go. Let's listen. Okay. So we have that video. I want to play another one because that one was poorly edited, unfortunately. I know you all tried, but that was pretty rough. And that's okay. These things happen. And so the other one I want to play is this one. Let me bring that up. Okay, so let's pull this up now. Sorry for the pause. Okay. So this gentleman did his own personal research on his own. We can do it too. Um, just to find out what's what. So I encourage you also to read that comment stream, because that was very interesting to watch this, to look at the comment stream of that. And there was a young lady on there who did the typical uh, the tour. Change the subject. Let's not talk about this. Nothing to see here. That's typical. Nothing surprises me anymore with these folks, but I do know that we must stay vigilant. This is not doing what I wanted it to do. Um, anyway, I'll repost that later. I have to do that again. But basically, he did his own research and he discovered that these towns are still alive and well. They operate under, now he said de facto law. Maybe I had it backwards between de jure and de facto law. It is de facto. Let me look that up because now I'm doubting which one is which, but he probably knew because he probably studied the sociology concepts as well. But we were talking about the difference between de facto and de jure law, and I think I put segregation. Yeah, so de facto is in fact or effect, whether or not by right, and de jure is by law. So I had them backwards in my mind, but that's okay. Um, so basically, we've gone through this. I encourage you all to read the comments because the comments section is very important. Because the comments of any given thread help you understand the pulse of what people are thinking. So if people are not happy with a particular concept, they're not with it, they're going to type it out. And the anonymity of the internet and media sites allow people to speak in a way that makes them feel comfortable. And they don't have to be responsible for their words or actions. I have to post this on Twitter because anytime I put the wrong episode number on there, but I fixed it. But human is to err. So the last thing I want to talk about in all this is racism over. For some people, this will be proof. For some people, they'll be like, "You didn't prove anything." Either you come to class to learn the lecture, or you come to class to challenge the professor. We know that there's two types, right? So I'm just happy to be here sharing information with my people. I'm going to continue to do my part, keep people up to date, aware. Everybody is learning at different moments. Some people will sometimes think, well, I already know that. I don't need to come on here. Well, sometimes the youth don't know, are not aware, and they're coming into their selves and having experienced some of these things that have been going on. And it's unfortunate. But I had to make that little connection. Sure, I got this on my profile. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about, we talked about the sundown town. Sundown town is a very big proof about the sentiment of some Americans that are white and who do not wish to live amongst non-white people. And white has an interesting spectrum because it goes over to religion, and for some reason, white people don't consider Jewish people white, even though Jewish is not necessarily a culture group, but it's a faith. But Jewish people do tend to identify their faith as also a culture group or race, which is an interesting concept, but that's another story. So basically, I wanted to talk last about real quickly, and I'm just going to post more information for this because we're running up on our 2 hours. I want to talk about Joy DeGrue's work and what is PTSS somewhat, which I'm gonna have to get into this as a separate discussion. Scratching my leg because they coming for me. I'll have to talk about this in a separate discussion because that's an at length, and I will introduce Francis Cress. Welsing. Wesling. I always forget her last name, but I'll post. I'll talk. I think I will talk about that in the next discussion because I think it's important to talk about these sisters. And I'm wanting to bring the sisters in because we have a lot of brothers dominating the game right now, and I think that we need to have more sisters into the game because to bring that balance. You know, our brothers are strong, they're powerful, they're great. I love to hear from them, but I want to see my sisters out on the forefront more so too because we have been instrument in our liberation over time. And it's been when we've been active that it's almost like when we became tired of it and then we got into it, it really brought it together. That's just my opinion and what I see historically. Is when the brothers do it by themselves and put the sisters in the background, they're at a disadvantage. You know, I always tell people, I posted that in a post before that, we all start off female in the zygote phase when we begin that embryonic stage. And that hormone to make you male or female for sure doesn't kick in until the third, almost fourth month, which is why they don't do the ultrasounds until then so they can tell you the sex of the baby if you choose to know. But all of those start off as female because the egg is female, right? And so when you look at a male's chromosome as the markers that they put on there, they call it XY, to name it. But a female's is XX. But a male is XY. What does that tell you? Part female, part male. We are the prototype, similar to melanated people, the black man, so called, being, or the black woman in this case, that's the oldest fossil we've been able to find, but um, African people being the prototype. Okay. And it's not saying that anyone else expounding is any less. It's just saying prototype. Prototype means the original. Okay, so female being the original speciation and branching off from there, melanation becoming um, the dominant gene pool. And so, anyway, that's just my thought process on it, how I look at it when I learned genetics and how that works. And so, Joy DeGruy is a sociologist. And her work has been in post-traumatic slave syndrome. And the reason why we're dealing with this is because what I wrote down is who has a problem with race, white people or black people? Who should be responsible for fixing the problem? Okay. I put down white people attitudes and lack of knowledge is the problem. Okay, and that's where they suffer at. Black people non-recognition of effects of post-traumatic slave syndrome, I think, are the dominating themes here. There are other problems, obviously, but I think those are the dominating theme. Our lack of knowledge and understanding of history and how it's played a role in the things that we see around us. Some people who have perceived to make it, they just don't believe it exists anymore because they've made it. And that doesn't mean anything because you have to look at the majority and look at how the majority are operating. With white people, I think their attitudes towards learning because there is an arrogance that they already know what happened, but they fail to realize that the information that you have been given has been false in many ways. Um, and the lack of knowledge as well. And then I have to add caveat onto that and add on and say, their unwillingness, woeful ignorance to learn the truth. I just rather not deal with this, too stressful. I got too much going on in my life. I can't learn this information. My sentiment is that when we learn the truth, it's a freedom. I have felt more freedom in this last decade of researching and learning the truth about what's going on around me than when I was in a cloud because there was, and again, I've been so-called woke for many years. I knew something was wrong based upon things that I saw around me as an observant person that I am. But there's a woeful ignorance from everyone, but especially those who identify with the white race. I asked a girlfriend that I was very close to in times, and everybody has things going on in their life, but she had said something to me when I was going through a flood situation. It really bothered me, and we had always been close friends. And the thing about friendships is when you're down, you expect for people who you love and care about to be there for you and closer. And what I've noticed is that anytime I've become friends with people who identify with white, you can only get so close as a person of color. You're invited, but sometimes. You're included, but sometimes. It's never an all out effort just from my experience. I don't want to make that everyone's experience because that is not everyone's experience. Just from what I see, um, it could be personality, it could be like ability. I have to add all those factors in. But this is just something I noticed that, especially when you have children playing together, that there begins to be a separation as they become of a certain age group, and there's not as much closeness. Like my criticism of this particular friend in my example is that they'll go all the way on the other side of town where they used to live and hang out with their old friends. But I used to live maybe 10, 15 minutes away from them, and they barely come over. Barely wouldn't call me and say, hey, let's go shopping. Nothing. Those are the things that you do with close people. And I knew this person longer than they knew the people um, that they were feeling most closer bond with. And the bond that they shared was culture, I suppose. Maybe she felt closer to culture. Now, this could make this person angry if they ever come across it. That's fine. We could talk about. I'm not afraid of any conversation. I'm not afraid of um, unboxing, unpackaging anything that I perceive in a relationship. And, I'm sure they'll say the typical things, but they had said something when I was going through a flood situation. I wondered to myself, like, where the hell was this coming from? I said to them, basically, I can't believe that you didn't come over when my apartment was flooded. I lost my car. I'm not even sure they understood everything that I lost in that flood situation. I had to rebuild. And so, when I spoke to them about this loss, and even, I have criticism about, things I experienced with my coworkers. I seen them collect big donations for people. I went through my employer and applied, and I found friction. I didn't ever get any help through my employer or relief. Because they had this long application process. You had to pay for things first, and they do a reimbursement, which I thought was very interesting. And the man who was interviewing me made a comment, well, we have to do it this way because, sometimes people, they have, they may have a need, but they don't, really have a need. And I just kind of looked at them and I just said, never mind. And then, and I never really reported that experience because sometimes you just get so tired. When you're going through things, you just get tired of fighting an uphill battle. Um, but with my coworkers. I'm not saying they had to and they knew my situation, but no one ever collected up a donation on their own. Some coworkers asked, is there anything you need? Let me know. But in my mind, what I had seen them do in the past for people who have been going through different things in their lives, they had collected a donation of things and they delivered it to that person, regardless of that person wanting it or not. They just did it. They didn't do that for me. Okay. And again, it was just interesting. I'm not sure why, but it was just interesting. Um, and I work an overnight shift, so that could be a contributing factor. But I'm just saying things that I've observed and thought in my mind. It doesn't make it right or wrong, but just things I thought. And then the last situation with my girlfriend I mentioned, going back to that with her, I cannot stand this. Anyway, you can't even enjoy yourself because of that. You hear it? As soon as they let them out, this is what you got to hear. So anyway, so with the girlfriend situation, this person I thought I was close to, we've never really lived closer to each other than when we lived down here. And when, I mentioned to her, like, babe, you didn't even call me or come over to see me or anything. What's up with that? I can't believe you didn't call me or nothing. I was going through the situation. She basically told me that I was being a drama queen, which anyone who know me, I am the furthest from a drama queen. Never have been, never will be. I'm not a drama queen. That was very offensive to me. She said I was being a drama queen, and if I needed something, I should have just asked her. Okay. Where I'm from, when you see people going through things, you offer your help. You ask them, is there anything you need? You don't go through weeks of cycle of time and never ask them, is there anything they need? No text, no call, no nothing. And I'm not sure how she found out about my situation. I don't know whether I called her and told her about it. I'm pretty sure I think I called her and told her about it, if I remember right. But after that, nothing. And I just thought that was peculiar because, I don't want to act like I'm perfect or that I'm always there for people. Sometimes, I miss the mark too. But if if someone comes to me and says, hey, you know what, you really missed the mark on this, I'm going to empathize with that person and say, you know what, I apologize. Maybe I was going through something, but if it's something I can help you in the future, and I'll make it right. But when you come to a person, you say, hey, you know what, I really feel like you let me down. How come you didn't say anything? You call them a drama queen. And the last thing that happened, because I would post things on my Facebook, and some people were friends that were non black culture groups. So I just really don't care. I'm unapologetically black. I tell people that all the time. This is the culture group I identify with. This is what it's called for now, and these are the things that are issues to me. And I don't apologize to anyone about these things because I know what I'm saying is true and factual. I don't have any angst towards anyone else. I'm a kind person. I do for people. And so if I'm turning my attention to my people, I have every right to do that, and I will do it, and I will do it unapologetically. So that way, the premise in which I stand and the principles in which I stand on. And so I asked them recently, I said, hey, go check out my page because we hadn't talked really since that incident, maybe in passing or whatever. I mean, I invited her to a couple of things that she couldn't make. Everybody's schedule is different or whatever, right? And so I and she's not the only girlfriend that's a white girlfriend that I've experienced this from. Uh, become distant or only include you certain things, don't include you other. But anyway, so I asked her to watch my video, and she was like, what is this about? Before she clicked on it, she just went like, oh yeah, let me go watch it. What is this about? So I told her, and I just asked because I wanted to interview her and her husband because they are my friends, and I wanted to get their insight on how they feel about this and get it from a white perspective. How do they see it? As a black person, I see it to a certain degree in tunnel vision because I live this life. But when you get to see from other culture groups, you kind of get a better feel of how they see things and try to objectively attack this and work together. So I thought that she would be willing to do that with me. And oh gosh, I don't even know if I remember. Let me see if I can find a comment. It was a really weird comment, in my opinion, but I'll read it, and you all can be the judge of it. Let me see if I can find it. God, it's been so long ago. I wonder if it's still here. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, so this is just the debacle, just to get you to understand where I'm coming from. And this was another thing that was weird. So, I sent my YouTube link, and I said, "Greetings, young lady. Watch the show and tell me what you think." Their response back was "Who is this?" And I asked, "Was it the person that I know? Is this so and so?" And they said, "Yes." Sorry, new phone. They said, "Who is this so I can save it?" I said, "It's Gandalf. Did you watch the video?" They said, "I don't know you." I said, "Oh, you know me, Frodo." Laugh out loud. And then I called her the nickname that I called her. She laughed and said, "You're an ass." She said, "You scared me." I said, "Where are you? We got some work to do. Save your contacts to Yahoo or Gmail. Never be in the dark." Laugh out loud. I said, "Laugh my ass off. Who the hell is after you?" She said, laugh out loud. "Well, people are crazy nowadays. I get all these weird numbers calling me. Thanks, but no thanks. How are you?" I said, she said, "We were just talking about you the other day, wondering where the hell you been." Because my Facebook had got all messed up because I was posting some pretty, not radical things or cursing things, but sometimes people challenge you and then they put you in Facebook jail. But I was never put in Facebook jail. They just closed my account, which is interesting what Zuckerberg is going through now. But anyway, my account was closed. And I said, "Yay, I'm loved." I said, basically your husband has my phone number. Weirdo, why didn't you just call? No, you got a new phone, contact, think about the people whose number you don't have. Whatever. Could have just happened. I said, "Did you watch the video Big Hit or not?" I host a YouTube show and I wanted to include you and your husband in the interview, but I needed to understand your thoughts on the video that I sent. She said, "I'll watch it, but it's long and I'm at work." YouTube show? She said, "I don't really like to broadcast my feelings on racism. I think we have enough of that already. I'm only racist on ignorance." Okay. "I'm only racist on ignorance." Probably didn't mean to say it that way. Knowing the person I know, they say really goofball stuff all the time and we laugh about it later. And I said, "That's opinion enough, thanks." Because that comment made absolutely no sense to me. I would love for y'all to leave me comments so we could begin to talk about these things. I don't. When you leave comments on my page, I leave them for review because if people put ignorant things, I'm, Certain things I'll post to a certain degree for example purposes, but just complete and utter ignorance, no, I'm not going to post that. So sometimes the comments are held, but I will release them once I review them. But I just, that baffled the hell out of me. I ain't gonna lie. That baffled me. I just said, it floored me. I just didn't know what to think. And that's all I could say back in response. Like, what does that mean? So, anyway, Joy DeGruy's work, PTSS. Um, she's working on this problem. I'll try to post a video of her and her work on that and her review of post-traumatic slave syndrome. I can't remember if I posted her or just posted her name before, but I think I'll go ahead and post her video. But thank you all so much for watching. It's beautiful out here. The wind is blowing right now. It's breezy, so the mosquitoes can't stop and bite you if they want to, because they just get blown the hell away. They done already got my ankles. This was brought to you by Off Deep Woods. Take a bath after this. That is Texas for you. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope that moving to season 2, as I begin to problem resolute and really come up with remedies, we have to state the problems before we can know how to solve them. So I've been mostly spending season 1 stating the problems. It's the spring, so now we're going to get out and about and talk to people and really engage people and try to really find out the pulse of people and find out what's really going on, at least in the Houston region. And you all can compare it and see how does that compare to your region, okay? So I love you all. I hope you be safe. I hope that you be productive. And, I hope that my videos are helping you, because they're helping me. And that's important too. I'm going with you all. This is a walk together. So thank you for coming to Elephant in the Room, for short, ETR B. I'm your host, Maya In Situ. Bless, bless, bless.